All right, now let's jump to some 2K. We're going back to 2K. And I did some research. Every week, whenever we do Mazique Speaks, I'm gonna go kind of deep. I'm gonna go with one segment is gonna always talk about some numbers, like getting into the statistical or some sort of analysis aspect of sports video games, most often player ratings, because I think it's very important to get that part of the game right if you want the game to play like a simulation, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about simulations in some other sports video games as well a little bit later. But I've talked about this before in articles on Forbes, I've talked about it in videos. But I think that the most out of control, over allocated badge in 2K is the Hall of Fame Limitless Range badge, or just Limitless Range, period, right? It's hard. It's almost hard to quantify how it shifts the balance of the floor and shifts the balance of the game when you have a bunch of shooters out there and guys have limitless range. Now, I don't think that nobody should ever have limitless range. I'm not going to say that because there are players who have the ability to knock down shots from deep. But I do think that there should be specific criteria for who gets limitless range and at what level, right? So I'm only going to talk about Hall of Fame limitless range. And I'm going to actually be lenient with my criteria for limitless range, because I think it could even be stiffer than this. And some of you guys listening might think that it should be stiffer. But I think, like I said, there should be a concrete requisite for how do you earn Hall of Fame limitless range. Now, that's tough for players who played at a time period where advanced statistics weren't kept. But in today's basketball game, in my opinion, there's really no excuse not to get most of these ratings accurate, not to get most of these badges accurate. There is some, like, it's almost like the Android market, how the little tagline used to be, there's an app for that, or maybe it was Apple. I'm not sure. You know what I mean. Google it up. It's almost there's a statistic that ties in to every single attribute and most of the badges, except for maybe the personality badges, right? But everything else, there's something that ties into it. So I don't see a reason why it should be kind of like up for grabs. So I came up with what I think is a decent criteria for getting Hall of Fame limitless range. I think that you should have to have played at least 50 games in the season, right? Because you don't want to take a number based off of what I'm gonna say for the rest of the criteria. If the player hasn't played enough games in the season to make it a valid statistic, right? I think you should have to have played at least 50 games. I think you should have to have attempted at least three pointers from 25 to 29 feet away from the basket. Obviously, longer than 29 feet clearly qualifies. But 25 from at least 25 feet away. The statistics are available to regular fans, right? Not even to mention the advanced statistics from Synergy Sports and things like that 2K and other major companies have access to. But just as specific as NBA.com, there are statistics available that talk about this, right? There's a stat for accuracy for three-point shooting from 25 feet to 29 feet. That is essentially limitless range because three-point line is 23 feet 6 inches away, or 23 feet 9 inches, something like that, right? Under 24 feet away. That's what the three-point range is in the NBA. So you should have to have played at least 50 games in that season, attempted at least three-pointers from that range from 25 feet to 29 feet, and you should have to have at least a 38% accuracy for that range, not your overall three-point percentage. You have to have at least 30, you have to knock down at least 38% of your threes from that deep. To me, that tells me that you played enough, you shoot from that distance frequently enough, and you knock them down with enough regularity to say this guy is a Hall of Fame limitless range shooter. If you're under that, and say for instance, to me, in order to get the badge, period, on any level, whether we're talking about gold, silver, bronze, Hall of Fame, to me, you should have to have at least shot at least 3 attempts from that range per game. Per game, that's your average, right? Not at one point you shot 3. I'm talking about across the entire regular season. You need to average at least 3 attempts from that range. If you don't average at least 3 attempts from that range, to me, it's an incomplete. Not everybody, right? But maybe you're 36 to 37%, 36 to 30, like 36 to 37.9%. Okay, if that's what you knock down, then maybe you're a gold limitless range. All right, well then maybe you're 34 to 35.9%. All right, decent percentage from that deep. Silver. Okay, and then maybe you are 32 to 33.9% from limitless range. Still okay. You shoot enough of them. There's a bronze. If you are under 32% from 25 feet and out, you're dealing purely on your 3-point rating, and as you step into 25 feet away, now it's dropping some because you're shooting from a super large way away from the basket. The distance has now affected your shooting percentage, so you're dealing with your regular 3-point percentage accuracy. This tells me where you're shooting, where you should have to hit on the meter, and you're far away, so you're getting a penalty on that. To me, that's the way you should do the Hall of Fame Limitless Range badges. Or the Limitless Range badges, period. Now, I did some research, and I looked at the players who would qualify for a Hall of Fame Limitless Range with that criteria. Now, I know you guys are watching the video, but I really wish I could have asked you how many players you thought would qualify under that criteria. Well, I did the research, and I only took the regular season, okay? So I didn't take postseason. But according to my research, there are 19 players in the NBA this year who would have played at least 50 games, attempted at least 3 threes from 25 feet and out, and had a 38% accuracy or higher for the season. And I'm going to name them for you. At like number 19, I suppose, or tied for 19 or last, I should say, Karl-Anthony Towns, 38.1%, 3.2 attempts. That's pretty amazing considering he's a 7-footer. He's a center power forward. It's pretty amazing. His former teammate, Zach LaVine, same percentage, 38.1%, 3.7 attempts. So almost 4 from that deep a game, 38.1%. He's shooting it well. Patty Mills, 38.3% on only 3 attempts. One of the lower. He just made it under the bar for a number of attempts per game, but he shoots it from deep regularly, right? Kevin Huerta from the Atlanta Hawks, 38.5% for 3.2 attempts. He also was kind of just making it under there, but it's enough. Klay Thompson shoots from deep a lot, 5 attempts a game from more than 25 feet out. 38.5%, same as Kevin Huerta. Just a little bit above him, J.J. Redick, veteran shooter for the Philadelphia 76ers, 38.6% on 5.8 attempts. Isn't it something how we're going up in attempts per game, but we're also still going up in regards to accuracy? Some of these guys can flat shoot it. Going down a little bit here, Marco Bellinelli, but 38.7% on 3.2 attempts from 25 feet or deep. Now, this one might be a little bit of a surprise to some people because you might think of him more of a dunker than as a shooter, even though he's been a good shooter for a long time. Terrence Ross, 38.7% from more than 25 feet out on 5.2 attempts. That's the second most attempts from that deep for anybody that list. The only person so far that I've mentioned with more attempts per game, and there are some people coming with more, but the only person that I've mentioned thus far with more attempts from that range is J.J. Redick. Terrence Ross is an underrated player. He really is, especially on the offensive end. Next, I got Chris Middleton, 38.9% on 4.9 attempts. Knockdown shooter, just a really good scorer. Really good scorer. Next, we got Kevin Durant, 38.9% on 3.8 attempts. You got to think that if he didn't play with Klay Thompson and Stephen Curry, that he might have even more than 3.8 attempts. And he's such a good shooter, I don't think that the percentage would be much less if he didn't. Now, just think about this for a second. Think about what I've already named, right? Because I'm about halfway through this list. I've named two players from the Golden State Warriors who are among the deadliest three-point shooters from beyond 25 feet. That's pretty amazing, right? And you already know the other guy's coming. So next up, we got Marcus Morris, 39.8% from 25 feet and out, 3.4 attempts. That's really good for a big man, especially. Kyrie Irving, the dude is a phenomenal scorer. He's a phenomenal offensive player. 40% from 25 feet and out on 4.6 attempts. Now, if you're a Sacramento Kings fan, you already know this. But Buddy Hield got a cannon, Joe. I'm telling you, 41.5% on 4.4 attempts a game. He was one of the best long distance shooters in the NBA all season long. Very consistent the entire season. Well, most of the season. Just shot the ball well. Landry Shamet, 41.5% on 3.4 attempts. Talk about a rookie that had a really good year that a lot of people didn't necessarily talk about. Landry Shamet shot it. I mean, he shot the ball well. I mean, I think that, like, when the trade was made that sent that sent Tobias Harris to the Clippers, I think we all talked about, Tobias Harris going to the Clippers and how that seemed like, going to the 76ers, how that seemed like such a big deal. Landry Shamet, but we didn't talk about the impact Landry Shamet had. He came to the Clippers and started started every game for the Clippers from the moment he got there, and his three-point percentage actually got better. He shot 6 threes a game, and I'm not talking about limitless range threes, but 6 threes a game. He knocked down 45% of his threes after he got dealt. I mean, and averaged 11 points a game, and this is as a rookie, a 21-year-old rookie. So I don't know if that kid gets the credit he deserves. He's a player. Next, I got Davis Bertans, 42% on 3.4 attempts. That's another good shooter. It's a bigger guy. Next, Steph Curry. The most attempts of anybody on this list. And he shot 42 point, through the regular season, 42.2% from field, from limitless range, with 8 attempts from that deep per game. 8 from 25 feet. And you knocking down 42% of them. I say it, and I've said it before, and I'm saying it again. He is the greatest shooter that ever lived. It's just that and honestly, I don't even think second place is that close. He is the greatest shooter that ever lived. It's 42% on 8 attempts per game from 25 feet out or deeper. Like, he's from another planet. He is. Next is Bryn Forbes. Bryn Forbes from the Spurs, 42.7% from 3.5 attempts. That's real deal. That's real deal. And at 3.5 attempts is enough to know that this dude can really fire it. Danilo Gallinari, the second highest percentage of anybody from limitless range, 43.7% on 4.1 attempts. That's 2 Clippers. It's something how a lot of these guys come from the same team. It really is. So you're seeing that the green light is there pulling up, and these are coaches that are understanding that the percentages for certain shooters is not dropping that much from certain ranges. For some people, it drops significantly. Others, it doesn't. Number 1, the most accurate limitless range shooter in the NBA this year on 3.5 attempts, 48.9%. You talking about second place not being close. In this particular category, Joe Harris was far and away the best long distance shooter in the NBA this season. 3.5 attempts, 48.9%. Dude got a rocket. He's got a rocket, and he should have Hall of Fame limitless range. That's the way you should. To me, I don't think it's really even arguable. That's the way it should be. That's the way it should be calculated. That's the way the badge should be given out. I don't even know if Joe Harris has Hall of Fame limitless range. I have to check, but I know he should. I know he should, after putting together an entire season where you knocked down 49% of your threes from 25 feet out or deeper, and you took 3.5 of them a game. I think that's limitless. I think that's limitless range. I don't know about you. And we are talking a lot of stuff today. This is Mazique Speaks, and I got a pretty hefty schedule, a pretty hefty
Pocket, I'll be weak. I'm rather unique.